What's up guys, I'm randomfrankp, and as promised, this is going to be part 2 showing off some Battlefield 5 with RTX enabled. This is all from that previous RTX build we did on the channel in collaboration with NVIDIA when they sent over the new GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. So if you want to see that build video, definitely check it out, but just for now, we're going to be checking out some gameplay. So before we begin, if you don't know, RTX or ray tracing has been considered for a while now like the holy grail, you could say, of graphics. And it's essentially, casting like light rays onto a scene and then tracing them back to that light source, which you're going to see is accurately simulating how light is going to interact with different objects in the game, which is one thing that I think Battlefield just does really well. So I'll show you guys some examples, but you're going to see really the benefits of ray tracing in certain areas like windows or glass, reflections off of water or metallic surfaces. It's also going to go for your weapons, obviously, because they are also made of metal, and things like, explosions and fire. And this makes ray tracing really unique, and it's going to give you like a photorealistic look to the lighting and stuff happening in the game. And this isn't really anything new either. I think it was back in like 2006 it's kind of been a method. I think it was first appearing in Pixar's like Cars, the movie. That was a fully rendered out movie though. This is the first time with the launch of NVIDIA's GeForce RTX GPUs that it's now possible to experience the real-time ray tracing in your game, which is going to be starting off with Battlefield 5, like I said, showing you guys some examples. So first, you're going to want to go into your video settings under the Advanced tab and make sure you have DX12 enabled as well as DXR enabled. That's going to fully enable RTX for you. Then down to graphics, as you can see, everything is set to Ultra, giving me some of the best possible graphics. And even still at 2560 by 1440p, I am still getting a smooth 60 plus FPS. So I said before, water was a good example. I'm in this sort of like swampy area where it's all wet. The trees, the sky, all those reflections are also being rendered real time in the water. That's even going to go as far as things as explosions. Like off in the distance, there was an explosion, and you saw that reflected in the water. Here in the puddles on the gravel, you could see the reflections of all the buildings real-time, accurately reflected on the ground. The color of the buildings, the perspective, it changes with the shadows under the bridge. And it may seem minor, but when you're in the heat of a moment in a fast-paced game like this, it really does just make it that much more immersive. And to cap off the scene, it's war, it's hectic, an explosion's gonna go off in the distance, and of course, you'll see that reflected in the puddles. And another great example here, which is like the definition of RTX, is the reflections of all the lamps and the lights on this sort of like high gloss ceiling on this marble floor. You can see every light is accurately reflected and rendered onto this glossy floor. And this is really cool to see because in the past this would have required a tremendous amount of power and rendering. This one's minor but still helps add to the immersion. Is notice when I'm looking in the distance, you could see in the scope of my gun where the sun is behind me. So it's accurately rendering where the light source is coming from, this being the sun in the scope. So here you can see I'm looking over here, the sun is directly behind me, and it's not just a static image, the sun is being reflected based on where it is relative to where my gun's pointing. This was pretty unique, and you'll see that little lamp on the wall when I walk into this room. I noticed it after the fact, but as I'm looking for people, you could see that lamp also being reflected in my scope. I'll throw it in slow motion now, but right there you could see it. Now what I like about this shot is not only is the sunlight being reflected smoothly on the hood of my car, but you could see in my mirror on the left hand side of my hood, that is also reflecting the surface on the ground behind me, and that's also changing along to the surface of the ground. So the mud, the grass, that is all real time being reflected. And same goes for these static prop cars that aren't, drivable on the map. As you can see here in the metallic hood, it's reflecting the French flag behind it. You can see the colors there, and even on this left side, the shade of red coming from the flowers. Down here, it's untouched under this tunnel under the road. Nice and reflective off the light source. And then back up on the road, what's also cool is this car is now accurately damaged with the ash and the rubble and stuff. So I thought it was all pretty cool just to show off some of these things. Again, you can see here with the sign flickering in the background on and off, that's also going to be shown in the puddle, as well as those, like the sparks and stuff flying from the sign. So it's just really cool to see this stuff with RTX graphics cards, because in the past, it would just require so much more power and computing power from the graphics cards that now with it built in, with ray tracing inside the new GPUs, it's just so much easier for it to handle and process that we benefit from it in-game now, with it just looking so much more realistic. So I'll round this one out with a little montage here, some gameplay clips. But I want to say thanks again to NVIDIA for letting me get my hands on the new GeForce RTX 2080 Ti to experience Battlefield 5. I've been a fan since 3 came out. I really hit that hard. I played it for a long time. So it's really cool that I can actually work with you guys and put a video out like this to show you the real-time effects. If you want to experience real-time ray tracing for yourself, you can check out the description down below. I'll have, some links so you can find out more about it. So alright guys, I'm Random Frank P. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.